So there's a very iconic weapon found in the Star Wars universe, the lightsaber. It's got the superheated plasma blade plus a kyber crystal down in here. It makes sweet noises when you move it around, and it can help you impress your sister. But we're not going to be 3D printing a lightsaber today. We've already done that, and we're going to try something a little bit different. You guys read the title and the thumbnail. This is a vibroblade. I'd also like to mention that if you are new to this channel, make sure you do hit the subscribe button down below. YouTube hasn't monetized this channel yet, so it really does help us continue to grow. Also, we are giving away this very vibroblade, and you can stay around to the end of the video to learn how you could win this. So if you are a Star Wars fan like I am, you've probably been watching a few of the Disney Plus shows. You've got The Mandalorian, The Bad Batch, The Book of Boba Fett, and one of the main characters there is Mando or Din Djarin. He gets a new dark saber, which is kind of a weird little lightsaber thing, and he learns how to use it, kind of like dangling it around like a baby elephant trying to learn how to use its trunk. But eventually, he does show that he is very proficient with a different weapon, and that is his vibroblade. We can also see that the crew from The Bad Batch uses vibroblades quite a bit. They rip through pretty much everything from droids to clones and anything else in their path. It's a super effective weapon, and according to the Wikipedia, not Wikipedia for us normal people, the Wikipedia says that the vibro weapons are widely used throughout the Star Wars galaxy. The weapons have a vibro generator that sends out high-frequency sonic pulses, and these weapons ripple across material to seriously damage whatever it comes in contact with. So when I watched these episodes, I was reminded of a different show from my childhood called Mythbusters. Some of you might remember that show. It was with Adam Savage, the beret walrus guy, and then the rest of the crew. They would take like urban legends and myths and movie scenes, recreate them, and then eventually just blow them up because they thought that made good TV. Well, did you know that some of those Mythbusters actually worked on real Star Wars models? So that's kind of where I got the idea to do this project. So Mythbusters was one of the influences that made me want to become an engineer. You know, you plan things out, you draft it up, you build it and prototype it, and then eventually get to work with it. Unfortunately, I went into civil engineering, so I got to play with giant rocks, raging rivers, and a little bit of detonations when blowing up bridges. So that is what we're going to do today. We are going to recreate Hunter's vibroblade from The Bad Batch, mainly because it looks a lot cooler than Din Djarin's in The Mandalorian. We do have a few really good images from The Bad Batch for Hunter's blade, but it does seem like he uses a few different blades of different lengths. I'm not exactly sure if this is the camera angle, the animations, the modeling, or if he actually is using a few different blades. So we're going to combine these images together to try to create a design. And let's take these images into a graphic editing program. So in order to figure this out, we kind of need to know how long this weapon is going to be. We do know the general shape and the layout of it, but we don't know the actual length. Now I'm going to assume that I'm roughly the same size as Hunter, so we do have his hand as reference. I'm going to assume that my hand is the same size as his, and if I measure my hand, it's roughly 4 inches wide. And now that we know that Hunter's hand is about 4 inches wide, we can get a very scientific, 100% accurate estimation of about 6.5 inches for handle length and a blade length of 8 inches. We can quickly trace out an image of the entire knife with that unique electronic pattern on the side of it. I'm not exactly sure what you'd call those yellow lines that run up and down the blade, but if you do know the scientific Star Wars-y reason why they're there, just let me know down below in the comments. And then we did import that digital sketch into Blender, where we can build a 3D model of the knife. The first thing we decided to model was the grip itself. In the show, the grip has a very rectangular profile, so we decided to model it that way as well, even if it doesn't really ergonomically fit into a normal person's hand because our hands are kind of round, not square. We also included what would be the guard and the pommel into the grip designs because we'll print it all in one part. So now that we had a really cool handle modeled up, the next step was to model up the blade. It was a little bit more difficult. The main profile of the blade itself was easy enough, but that unique pattern in the side of it was a little bit more awkward. We decided to make a test print of this to see what the inlay would look like, and after printing it up, we decided to make the lines about 3 times wider so we could show a little bit more of that core color. And you probably did notice something a little bit different in that small test print. We decided to print this blade in 3 layers. We paused the printing after the gray outside and added a nice yellow layer inside. And you can probably imagine we finished this little molten plastic sandwich with a nice layer of fresh gray to complete your well-balanced breakfast. And now that we had all of the parts modeled, we had to cut the knife into 4 individual sections to 3D print them. There's the blade with the tang, the handle with that guard and pommel on it, that little black part above the guard, which seems to help with the structural stability of the knife, and the knife edge itself. Since we decided to make that little printed sandwich, the edge needed to be wider than the interior yellow part, so we decided to print that out individually and glue it on. And we also tried to print the little red caps on the backside, but it was almost easier just to paint that red on than try to print it. Assembly was super easy as well. We just added a few drops of super glue and then slid all of the pieces together. You probably will notice here too that we did extend the tang to go almost fully through the hilt, and hopefully this does add enough stability to keep the knife from breaking. It's still made out of plastic and it's fairly weak when you bend it back and forth, so we're hoping that little black guard also helps out with any shearing forces that we'd had where the handle meets into the knife blade. So there was one thing we didn't really plan, and that is the balance of the knife itself. Usually when you have a real knife, you want it to be nicely balanced so it doesn't slip around in your hand and the blade isn't too heavy and the hilt works nicely, but we didn't really think about that. We did print it with 100% infill, obviously, on the blade itself, but the handle was 50% infill, and it actually came out really well balanced. The square handle is still a little bit strange, but I mean, that's authentic to the show. So we did decide to modify things slightly and try to make it a little more usable in a way. We shortened up the handle so it didn't slide around, and we also made it more ergonomic, made it a little bit more round. We also got a fresh roll of glow-in-the-dark filament to test out, so let's see how this goes. So you viewers are gonna have to let me know which one of these two you prefer most. Personally, I'm a big fan of this glow-in-the-dark one because it does look nice and white to begin with here, but when you take it into a separate room, it goes nice and dark. But this is very nice and pretty much authentic to the show. So which one of these two do you guys prefer? So as I did say earlier, you guys can follow that link down below in the video description to do the giveaway for this very prototype blade right here. Just wanted to kind of give back to you guys as being part of this growing community. And if you guys want to follow the other link down below to help support the channel, we have an Etsy page where we have a few of these blades listed as well where you could purchase. We also have the digital files that you could download and 3D print some of your own knives for yourself. And if you did want to, there's a couple Bad Batch themed coaster kits that we have so you can keep your drinks on them. So that's what we got for you today in this video. If you guys do want to check out the last video we did where we 3D printed Super Mario Brothers, just click on that right up there. Also, if you haven't, make sure you do subscribe right at this little circle. I probably got those mixed up, but thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed and keep your stick on the ice. We'll catch you next time.